I'm Mark Oakes. Thank you for joining me. I am a volunteer researcher for the JFK Assassination and Information Center in Dallas, and I specialize in personal witness interviews. I try to stay focused on facts relating to the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and even though the evidence you're about to see are definite facts, they are not 100% conclusive. In any homicide investigation, especially in this case, where many years have elapsed, it is very hard to prove something beyond a shadow of a doubt. At the end of this program, I would like to pay a special tribute to the many authors in the early years who have brought forward information pertaining to this subject. As many of you are aware, there was an investigation immediately following the assassination. A Dallas patrolman, J.W. Foster, who was standing on the triple underpass overlooking Elm Street with the railroad workers, eventually made his way over to the south side of Elm Street, where he would later tell the Warren Commission, quote, to see if I could find where any of the shots hit, unquote. The Warren Commission lawyer, Joseph Ball, asked Foster if he found anything, and Patrolman Foster replied, quote, yes, sir, found where one shot had hit the turf there at the location. They caught the manhole cover right at the corner, unquote. In July of 1991, I interviewed J.W. Foster, and he confirmed his Warren Commission testimony in a videotaped interview. Okay, and according to your Warren Commission testimony, you saw where a shot had hit the turf on the south side of Elm Street?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you said that the shot had caught the manhole cover at the corner?
The concrete of the manhole cover, yes.
Okay. Foster was joined by Deputy Sheriff E.R. Buddy Walthers, and Walthers began to inspect the area. They were joined by another man who at that time was not identified, and there were two photographers who took a series of photographs of this investigation by the name of Murray and Allen. Let's take a look at these photographs. These photographs show the investigation just minutes after the assassination. The mystery man bends down to reach for something, and regardless of what it was, we have not seen any report of what was recovered. Hours after most people had left, a group of men were huddled by the manhole cover, as shown here. Why was the investigation so secret, and what clues do we have to identify the mystery man? One clue was published in Dallas Police Chief Jesse Curry's Assassination Files. On page 46, Chief Curry wrote, an FBI agent, Deputy Sheriff Walthers, and a Dallas police officer inspect the area for bullet fragments. And thanks to eyewitness Malcolm Summers, who put me in touch with Buddy Walthers' partner, former Deputy Sheriff Al Maddox, confirmed Chief Curry's statement in a videotape presentation at the JFK Center. Right here? Do you have any idea?
This man right here is an FBI agent, I promise you. Because at the time, Buddy told me who he was. Buddy knew him. Buddy Walthers knew who he was.
In the November 23rd evening edition of the 1963 Fort Worth Star-Telegram reported assassin's bullet. One of the rifle bullets fired by the murderer of President Kennedy lies in the grass across Elm Street from the building in which the killer was hiding and from where he launched his assault. Also, in the Dallas Times-Herald, November 24, 1963, reported Dallas Police Lieutenant J.C. Day of the Crime Lab estimated the distance from the 6th floor easternmost window the slayer used to the spot where one of the bullets was recovered at 100 yards. This document was brought forward by researcher Stan Walters. In a telephone interview, I spoke with Buddy Walters' widow and asked her about the man with her husband, and she remarked, quote, "You mean the man who picked up the bullet?" End quote. I have not yet been successful in coordinating a videotaped interview with her at this time. Also, in a telephone interview with Deputy Sheriff Al Maddox, he told me that a bullet was picked up on the south side of Elm Street and reiterated the same at dinner before our presentation at the JFK Assassination and Information Center in Dallas. This is a photo of Deputy Sheriff Al Maddox standing behind Lieutenant Day on November 22, 1963, and through his help, he put me in touch with a well-known FBI agent who does not want his name mentioned and who told me who this mystery man was. At this point, my friend and colleague, Stan Serzan, worked with me step for step in locating this man, and we virtually acquired the information at the same time. The name that the FBI agent gave me without hesitation was Dallas Special Agent Robert M. Barrett. He had worked on several commission exhibits and had personally investigated the mark in the grass as reported by Mr. and Mrs. Hartman, whom I interviewed in July of 1991. This is a 1990 photograph of Mr. Robert Barrett, and in June of 1992 I called Mr. Barrett to try to get a description of him as he was in 1963 and told him that I collected autographs from witnesses and police, which is true. He did match the general description of the man in the photographs, and when I asked him the color of his hair in 1963, he remarked, quote, "Light sandy colored, but it's definitely gray now," end quote. I also asked Mr. Barrett what side he parted his hair, and he told me, quote, "On the left side," end quote. So I asked Mr. Barrett if he would autograph some photos that I thought I had of him, and I sent them in the mail, and within 7 days I got the photos back unsigned and my original letter that I had sent Mr. Barrett with this note attached to it. The note reads, "Mark, this is a photo of me. Sorry, yours truly, Bob Barrett." Totally confused on how a man of his background could make a mistake like that, I called Mr. Barrett to ask him about the note, and this was his reply.
Hello? Yes, ma'am. Please speak with Mr. Barrett. Just a minute. Bob?
Yeah.
For you?
Hello?
Hi, Mr. Barrett?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Mark Oakes. How are you?
Fine.
I just wanted to thank you for sending that back so quick. I was hoping that you'd keep that autograph of Al Maddox just as like a souvenir, but I was just confused about your note. It says, this is a photo of me.
I should have said it's not.
Pardon?
I should have said it's not. I just misworded that. It's not a photograph of me.
Oh, it's not a photo. Oh, I see. Do you know by any chance who?
That was the slightest idea. I've never seen that photograph before.
I also asked Mr. Barrett why he was at the arrest of Lee Harvey Oswald at the Texas Theater, and this is what he replied.
It's just a reference point, but you did say that you were involved in the arrest of Oswald at the theater,
Right.
and you had to sign a report or something?
No, I'll make sure the report was correct.
Oh, you made sure the report.
I helped the officers write the report and make sure it was correct. Oswald was screaming that civil rights being violated, and I would,
Yeah.
as a government agent who would probably investigate it,
Yeah.
was there to make sure that it was written in such a way that it could not be construed as any violation of the civil rights.
Did you get a radio call to go over to the theater, or do you remember?
I was at the Tippett shooting when we heard that there had been suspicious characters going to the theater.
Oh, I see.
This is a 1950 photograph of Robert Barrett in black and white that was brought forward by Stan Srzan. Later, researcher Jerry Robertson acquired a better copy and sent this to me. Even though this is an old black and white photo, 1950 photo of Robert Barrett, at the last Dallas symposium, I talked to photo specialist Jack White, who told me that there were some similarities. I was not satisfied with Mr. Barrett's explanation. I should have said it's not. And I also knew from speaking to Mr. Barrett that Mr. Robert Gimberling was not only a personal friend of Mr. Barrett's, but was also his supervisor in Dallas in 1963. Before the Dallas Symposium of 1992, I went down to speak to Mr. Gimberling to relate to him what my discovery was, and in this videotaped interview, you will see what he had to say about my discovery. Gimberling, there was something that I was asked to do as a favor to a former deputy sheriff, and his partner for a period of time after the assassination was a man by the name of E.R. Buddy Walthers, and they had some photographs of a patrolman, Joe Foster, over on the south side of Elm Street that went over there to investigate that area to see if he could see anything. And eventually Al Maddox's partner, Buddy Walthers, had come over there, and another man had joined them to take part in the investigation. And a lot of people have wondered who the person was, not necessarily what they were doing, because it has been written that they were investigating the area and performing their duties. But I wanted to show you this picture, and through tracing it, I had found out who the person was. And see if you could look at that, please. And the man that I contacted was the man that also worked for the FBI in 1963, and had since, at a period of time after that, had moved or transferred. And the man that I contacted said that it was him, that was a picture of him, and that person's name was Robert Barrett. And then I'd just like to show you this as a confirmation that he sent me. And I was wondering if you had any information or an opinion as to whether that might possibly resemble Mr. Barrett, and if you knew him personally.
This is not the first time I've seen this picture. Bob Barrett and Ivan Lee were two agents that worked closely together and were responsible for a section of the first report I wrote in November 30th of '63, which was about a multiple page section containing photographs of all of the various locations of Oswald's escape route from the Texas School Book building. And they both worked on that, and I know Bob Barrett very well. Now, this picture was shown to me, or was sent to me in a magazine, and I was not positive. It was a smaller, but it did look like Bob Barrett. And I was never interviewed by anybody then as to whether it was Bob Barrett or not, although Ike Lee sent it to me. And Ike said, "You'll probably be contacted." I never was. Ike did not say it was Bob Barrett. He more or less left it up to me. Now, when I look at this picture, before you even mentioned that Bob Barrett had said it was him, I think I mentioned to you earlier that of all the agents I knew that worked on the case, it resembles Bob Barrett, although I know he parted his hair on the left side, and his hair was similar to that. And I would say that it very possibly is Bob Barrett.
Barrett was a special agent of the FBI also.
Yes.
And he was involved in several commission exhibits checking out various information and certain things. And I believe he told me he was at the arrest of Oswald and was checking out the report that the officers had written to make sure that Oswald's civil rights weren't violated and it could not be construed as...
He was at the scene of the arrest, yes.
Arrest. And after that videotaped interview, less than 20 days later, Mr. Gimberling sent me this letter reversing his statements and retracting his statements that he made in my videotaped interview, with a copy sent to Mr. Robert Barrett. This is yet another 1950 graduation photo of Mr. Robert Barrett that was brought forward by researcher Jerry Robertson. It is still 13 years before 1963, and Stan and I are presently trying to secure a 1963 photograph of Robert Barrett. As a footnote, this document that was brought forward by researcher Dale Myers and was given to me by researcher Todd Vaughn shows that Robert Barrett was in Dealey Plaza on November 22, 1963, right after the assassination. This document pertains to his investigation of the Patsy Paschal film that was given to him by Patsy's lawyer, Mr. Bruner. And as you can see, there is a blackened out section here that we'd be very interested to find out what is in that. But this is a document pertaining to Mr. Barrett being in Dealey Plaza, in which he noticed himself and saw himself in the film before he gave the film back to Patsy's lawyer. This is yet another document brought forward by the JFK Assassination and Information Center in Dallas that shows that Robert Barrett was in Dealey Plaza before he went to the Tippit shooting and the arrest of Lee Harvey Oswald on November 22, 1963. In a letter from Mr. Gimberling after our videotaped interview from July 2, 1993, he wrote, "You and I differ considerably with respect to whether the investigation in question is important. I spent valuable time trying to sincerely help you while you were in Dallas in October of '92, and with subsequent information in my letter of November 11, 1992, which convinced me beyond any doubt that Mr. Barrett does not appear in the photo in question. You broke your word and deceived me by trying to profit from the use of my name in the ad without my permission. As far as I am concerned, this is much more important than some fishing expedition by you and other researchers. The murder of the president a fishing expedition?" Mr. Gimberling has also stated that he was not a supervisor when he took over for the investigation Gordon Shanklin in 1963. But Agent Hosty, when testifying before the Oversight Committee, said that Mr. Gimberling was a supervisor in this videotaped interview.
Commission?
I did.
Did you volunteer or give any information about the note or its destruction?
I did not.
Why not?
I wasn't asked.
Did you give any information or volunteer any information with respect to your instructions regarding Commission Exhibit 103?
No, sir.
Why not?
I wasn't asked.
And did you think about volunteering the information?
No, sir.
Why not?
I was instructed when I went up there that I was to only answer the questions that were set to me, and I was not to expand on anything and not to elaborate, to only answer the questions that were put to me.
And who gave you those instructions?
Given to me by at least two officials in Dallas and at least one in FBI headquarters. They were given to me by Mr. Shanklin, Mr. Gimberling, who was a supervisor who succeeded Mr. Howe, and...
At the last Dallas Symposium in 1993, Mr. Gimberling was waiting for me, and he was not very happy with the fact that I had used his videotaped interview. I did secretly record the confirmation of Mr. Gimmerling when I met him at the 1993 Ask Symposium, and he was not very happy with the fact that I had used his videotaped interview.
But that's up to between that has nothing to do with what I'm doing right now.
I know.
Although if there's any lawsuit, he may be a party to it.
I know that.
But what grabs my ass is you in effect conned me.
No,
and I did you a damn favor, and you went and commercialized it.
Because my interest was to find out who the man was. Now, Mr. Gimberlin.
So was mine.
Okay.
And I made some inquiries too. I don't know who it was, but I know it's not.
But why didn't they make any inquiries then? You know that law officers are supposed to file a report of any activity, investigation in a homicide.
Oh, now don't tell me what law officers are supposed to do.
You mean they don't?
Huh?
Are you saying in a homicide they're not supposed to file reports?
The fact that there was a picture taken of some guy stooping over, hell, for all I know, these are two law officers right there in front.
They
and
are.
That's not an FBI agent. That's what I'm getting at.
Chief,
I don't know who that is.
Well, I never said it was an FBI agent. I said that Chief Curry.
What the hell you got the goddamn title? The Mystery F.B.I. man?
Because Chief Curry said that. Chief Curry said it was an FBI man, and so did Al Manox. It's in the video.
Chief Curry's not alive to defend himself. Yeah, I don't think Chief Curry ever said that was an FBI man.
I've got it in there. I'll show it to you.
From who?
From his book. He wrote a book. I'll show it to you.
Well, so what? Does that make it true? Or because Al Maddox said it?
And Betty Walker's widow?
His mouth. And I did some work, ostensibly for you, to try to establish if it was or it wasn't. And you turned the goddamn tables on me. Now, don't say you didn't, Mark. You lied to me, you defrauded me, you deceived me, and I'm not so damn sure you haven't violated the mail fraud section.
No, I haven't.
In a letter just recently received from Buddy Walther's widow, Dorothy, she wrote about the bullet that was found on the south side of Elm Street on November 22nd. Dorothy wrote, "Again, it was great to meet you. By the way, Mark, I really don't recall just when Buddy told me about finding that bullet. After all, he was killed in 1969. A lot of things are just a blur." The clock on top of the school book depository reads 12:40, and all is not well. Will we ever find a report of what happened pertaining to this investigation, and what happened to the disappearing evidence? We will keep trying until we find the answers, and we will keep looking for further information about Robert Barrett and exactly also why he was at the arrest of Lee Harvey Oswald at the Texas Theater.